Welcome to a video on conversions, and this conversions is primarily working with U.S. customary to metric systems, or vice versa, starting with metric and going to U.S. customary back and forth. So we are on page 89, depending on if you're following along with our packet, and we're just going to kind of work through these problems. So number one, guests at a party consumed 50 liters of wine. I hope there were a lot of guests there. How many gallons is this? So depending on what kind of conversion the document you have, might depend on what you're going to use. But no matter what, we always start with what we're given. So we are given 50 liters. And I automatically put that over 1 to make it a fraction because we are working using conversions dimensional analysis. So I know that if I want to go from liters to gallons, right, I call that going across the pond because metric, I always think of Europe and you got to cross the Atlantic. So if you're crossing the pond, you got to do specific things. Well, I know from my conversion sheet that 1 liter is 1.06 quarts. I know that's not gallons, but at least it gets me to customary. So metric to customary is important. And you'll notice that we had to put liters on the bottom so that it would cancel out, just like dividing fractions. So this first step changes my liters into quarts, but that's not good enough. I need to go one step further and say we know that there are 4 quarts in 1 gallon. So that step right there gets rid of my quarts, and now you can see the only label I have left is gallons. So if the numbers are in the numerator, you will multiply them together. And then the 4 in the bottom is division. So when you multiply the 2 in the top, divide by 4, you should end up with 13.25 gallons. And make sure you label your answers. Super important to label so we know what we're talking about. In number 2, a person weighing 200 pounds weighs how many kilograms? Well, what are we starting with here? 200 pounds. Okay, well, from pounds, I need to go pounds to kilograms. So again, crossing the pond. And I know, actually, I have a quick conversion, right? We know pounds to kilograms. So 1 pound is 0.454 kilograms. Let me get my numbers right there. Right, that, since pounds are on the bottom, pounds are on the top, cancels out. 2 numbers in the numerator allows me to simply multiply, and I end up with 90.8 kilograms. Now, you could also have used, there is a 1 kilogram, I believe is 2.2 pounds off the top of my head, I'm not sure. Let me see. Yes, that's correct. 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds. You could have used that here instead. I'm not really sure what your answer would be. I don't have my calculator with me, but you will get something very, very similar to 90.8. And we move on to number 3. According to the presidents of the USA, James Madison was the shortest U.S. president at 64 inches. Well, how many centimeters is this? Okay, well, I'm starting with 64 inches. I know from my sheet that I can go from inches straight to centimeters because 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters. So, inches in the bottom, inches in the top. 2 numbers in the top, I simply multiply, and I have 162.56 centimeters. Number 4, one of the tallest female basketball players in the country is 6 feet 9 inches. That's tall. So, how many centimeters tall is she? Well, right now we are in feet and inches. That's not okay. We have to be all in one unit. So I want to go everything to inches because just like in number 3, I can go from inches to centimeters. So first off, I know if I have 6 feet, in 1 foot there are 12 inches. So this allows me to say 6 feet is the same as 72 inches. Let's add on her 9 additional, and we know that this tallest player is 81 inches tall. So you have to kind of do a conversion before you even really start the problem. And then we can do the 1 inch is 2.54 centimeters and multiply, and she is 205.74 centimeters. At 5'4", I am real close to that. Not quite. Number 5, if you purchase a loaf of artisan bread, I don't even know what artisan bread is, but if you buy it from the bakery and it weighs 700 grams, How many ounces is that? Well, again, what are we starting with? We are starting with 700 grams. Grams to ounces. I can see, because I have it written down, that 28.35 grams is the same as 1 OZ. So this gram at the bottom, gram at the top goes away. And now because I have 700 in the top, 28.35, right? I talked earlier, number in the top, then to the bottom, you divide. So if I divide those, I will end up with 24.69 ounces. Okay. 6. The fastest winning time of the Kentucky Derby is close to 2 minutes, so we'll just call it 2. The track is 1.25 miles long. Write the ratio of the length of the track. Okay, let's just stop. We know we're writing a ratio. It's always what we start with. Ratio of length of the track is first. Well, the length of the track is 1.25 miles. 2, right? Think of the word 2 means the division bar. 2, the time. Well, it took 2 minutes. So we now have a 1.25 miles per 2 minutes. Then the problem actually says convert this to miles per hour. So you want your final answer to have miles on the top and hours on the bottom. Well, we already have miles on the top, so I don't have to change that at all. It's golden. So what I have to do now is I have to change minutes to hours. So if we think about how do I change minutes? Well, there are 60 minutes in 1 hour. Okay, think about dividing fractions and getting rid of them. If I have minutes in the bottom and I want to get rid of them, I need to put minutes in the top. So 60 minutes is 1 hour. So when you see that, minutes in the top, minutes in the hour, my labels are now miles over hours. And now I can go ahead and do my math. So the two numbers in the top, 1.25 and 60, I multiply together. I have a 2 in the denominator, so I will divide. So 1.25 times 60 divided by 2 means this horse was traveling at 37.5 miles per hour. I don't know about you, but that just seems really fast on a horse. I mean, it's not very fast when you're like tucked in a car, but it could be scary. It's scary for me to think about on a horse. I'm scared of horses. Number 7. It is 181 kilometers from Stratford, Ontario to Toronto, Ontario. How many miles is this? Hey, did you know that Toronto is the 4th largest city in North America? I learned that today when I was watching TV. Okay, so anyway, 181 kilometers is what we're starting with. The question is, how many miles? So lucky for you, you know from your conversion sheet that 1 kilometer is 0.621 miles. It allows my kilometers to cancel out top to bottom. Numbers are in the top, so I simply multiply, and it's 112.401 miles. If you used the other conversion, which would be 1 mile is 1.61 kilometers, you'd get something a little bit different, but it should be really close to that. And number 8, now this is kind of an interesting question, so bear with me. There's a Trans-Arctic Ocean submarine fiber optic cable, whatever that all means, between Tokyo and London, and it stretches 10,000 miles and provides a 170 millisecond communication. How long is a millisecond? Well, if you think of a meter and a millimeter is 1/1000th of a meter, right? So if a milliliter is 1/1000th of a meter, then a millisecond would be 1/1000th of a second. Does that make sense to you? So if we want to figure out how many seconds that is, so 170 milliseconds, we would multiply that by 1/1000 to figure out how many seconds that not 10,000, weirdo, just 1,000. So this is the same as 0.17 seconds. 170 milliseconds is 0.17 seconds. You can think about, we also talked about this when we did just straight up metric conversions. If you just move it 3 places to the left, because milli, 3 places you get to the standard unit, that would also get us 0.17 seconds. So that leads us into part B. Estimate the speed of the transmission in miles per hour. Well, we know that it said 10,000 miles in 170 milliseconds, which is 0.17 seconds. So we need to change this, right? It says miles per hour. So I want my goal to be miles per hour. Well, I already have miles. My numerator is already miles, so I just need to change seconds to hours. So if we think about this, there are 60 seconds in 1 minute. And notice I did that because now my seconds top bottom go away. Then I say 60 minutes is 1 hour. Again, here now my minutes go away, and now you can see my label in the bottom is hours. So now, numbers in the numerator, I multiply, I divide by that 0.17 in my denominator, and I get large number of 211,764,706. I'm going to round to the nearest, and that's miles per hour. So that's the speed of this of the communication through this cable, which is just ridiculously fast. I mean, ridiculously fast. Now, in letter C, it says compare this to the speed of light, which is 299,792,458 meters per second. Well, you can't compare answer B, which we have here in miles per hour, to answer C the way it is, because you can't compare miles to hours to meters per second. It doesn't work. So I need to change this meters to second to miles per hour. So first things first, I know that there are 1,000 meters in 1 meter. Or you can move it 3 places. We talked about this previously. So I just want to make sure that's meters. What? Kilometers. This is kilometers. So meters goes away, I'm in kilometers. That allows me to say there are 1.61 kilometers in 1 mile. All right? And I am not done, but I'm kind of out of space. So let me bust out. I guess I kind of lied. I had it calculated within reach. I just didn't want to get it. So I'm just going to simplify this as it is right now. This makes my kilometers go away. And because the numbers are in the bottom, I'm going to start with my 299,792,458. I'm going to divide by 1,000 and then divide by 1.61. So notice that in top I have miles and in the bottom I have seconds. So right now I have 186,206.4957 miles over 1 second because I'm still in seconds. So now I'm in miles per second and I want miles per hour. So now I'm going to do the 60 seconds is 1 minute and 60 minutes is 1 hour, because my minutes will go away, my seconds will go away. And now you'll notice all my numbers are in the top. So I take that answer, multiply by 60, multiply 60 again, and my answer for this is actually 670,343,384, rounded to the nearest in terms of miles per hour. So if I'm comparing my answers for B and C, okay, my answer for B was 211,764,706. My answer for C was 670,343,384. So when you think about, like, what's the comparison? Well, the speed of light, so the speed of light is more by 458,578,678 miles per hour. More than the speed of this transmission. I don't know if you ever care or would ever need to know that, but hey, there it is. And there is some extra work on conversions. Thanks.